Don't you worry about a thing. Except I'm worried about a lot of things, including whether my thing can become a thing with her thing. And that's the thing. It's trying to think too much, are you a thing? And next thing you know, there's a nothing to even think about. And you do all that thinking for no reason. And the thing is, that's the thing that will sit with you the most. So, yeah, that's the thing. Welcome to episode 168 of the Often Be podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Recording this at 12:52 a.m. Eastern, basically after fucking midnight. September 9th of 2022. A couple of days from now will be 9/11. It's weird to call something a holiday when it's remembering a not so joyous time in life. I remember where I was. I remember where I was in school, technically. I don't remember them in school actually making a thing about it. Like, they didn't have us all sit around one of those TVs that were on a rolling cart and be like, hey, kids, let's traumatize you visually. I don't think that's really what happened. But I remember when I got home and it was just like on the news, and my parents just played it on the news for like fucking weeks and weeks type of shit. Because it was like the biggest thing in the world. So, yeah. And so I don't know whether to call it a holiday. Because I think a holiday, I'm thinking of, you could go into the origins of holidays and realize they're not always the most, beautiful things to remember. Like Thanksgiving, there was actually a lot of type of killing that had to happen. Christmas, if you believe in some of the demonic stuff, old Chris Krampus, which is weird because there's nothing delightful about a nickname for Santa Claus being Krampus. You're cramping my style. You're cramping us. And it's almost like well, see, that's the thing. Santa Claus couldn't be a woman. Because if Santa Claus was a woman, imagine the one day a year you have to perform. It's just one day of work a year. But it's a stressful ass day, You gotta go across time zones. You get no sleep. You have to go to every fucking house in the world and drop off these sack of presents. And what if just on that one day, she's going through the tribulations that we call the menstrual cycle or having your period. It's not exactly good timing. The inconvenience of being alive Jesus Christ, lady, get a grip. Sorry, I got distracted through my vents. Some cat's like fucking like screaming for help. Probably like being abused and shit. But mind your business. That's what they'll tell you. Oh yeah, and by the way, before I get back on this being on your period as Mrs. Claus in this hypothetical situation, I've been on this binge of watching Public Freakout. It's fascinating to watch real life situations of people freaking out because you probably only experience a few during your time of living. Like in terms of those really extreme ones where some lady is just like yelling and threatening and all that shit. Like you'll see disgruntled customers and people say some bullshit, but Like, these things that you see on YouTube are insane. These public freakouts of people. And I think what was fascinating when you watch a lot of these things, it's people who are in low situations in life, and they find someone or a situation where it's one of the few times where they're technically around someone that societally is lower than them. And I don't even like using that term, because to call someone below you is weird, but we're just going to, for sake of argument, say, oh, someone that's at a fast food restaurant, but, you know, they work at some job that pays them, I don't know, $19 an hour, because, you know, that really put you up the pecking order. But it's like one of the few times where they can just act however they want and feel empowered type of thing. And I think one thing you notice with like 99% of these people is that in these situations, in these places, you notice how everyone's first instinct is to record and not actually step in to stop the situation, or to step in and actually defend the person behind the counter, or defend the person who's obviously being, you know, battered with verbal shit that, you know, they can't say anything back. Well, what happened to the days where when you see complete fuckery and just someone acting out on someone who's in a vulnerable position, why don't people just step in and tell these people to shut the fuck up? And to tell these people, get in between and go at them. You notice all these, the people just let people act however they want. Like, it's just crazy to me how many people just sit and watch shit. It becomes uncomfortable to watch when you're watching these videos and you're watching these instances, because it's like, I understand you may be afraid of certain things, but at the same time, like, people just sitting there watching someone acting a goddamn fool, it's fucking nonsense. Like, even if a situation where their order's wrong, or a situation where they're wanting a refund at some retail store because they can't return the clothes because, oh, the tag was off, or, oh, you had it for more than 32 days and we have a 30-day policy and you don't have your receipt, even though when I bought the shit, you said, oh, we actually don't print out receipts, but we can email it to you. But then I never got in the email because you mistyped my shit on the fucking thing when I asked confirm my email and you didn't confirm it correctly. But even in that situation, there's ways to handle it. And I think what you see is there's this real intense comfort level with people to just act a goddamn fool. Like, at a certain point, you were just acting like a goddamn fool. And it's not about being emotional. It's not about, oh, I'm just an emotional being. It's like, no, you are acting a goddamn fool. I don't care how you were raised. I don't care whatever the fuck. I don't care your environment. You know when you're acting like a goddamn fool. I know when it's appropriate for me to act like a goddamn fool. When I'm alone and I say shit and I do shit where I can get my goddamn foolery out of me. But what you notice with these videos is people only act this way because they don't feel like anyone's actually going to interject and stop their fuckery. And I think it just shows this kind of softness. I don't like to call people soft or nothing, but it shows this thing in this society where everyone is supposed to everyone wants to stay out of things, right? Because we live in this, we want no one to get in our business. It's like, okay, but when you're in a public place and you see some bullshit, and it's no longer your business when you do shit in public. So when you see fuckery happen in public and it is wrong, you see a girl, a guy being hyperly physically aggressive with this girl, and you sense that some shit's about to happen. He's about to like beat the fuck out of her. Like, you just gonna sit there and do nothing? Like, that's just as problematic. Maybe it's not your business, quote unquote. But I think make it your business. Stop living in this world where nothing is your business. How are you going to live in a world, watch shit happen, watch people act like a fool, and just say, not my business? You don't have to know the situation. You know what? Some situations don't need context. If you see a grown-ass person acting like a child, I don't give a fuck the context. That's a you problem. If you get these hands, you get these hands. But I think people need to take more of a onus, take more of a responsibility to when you see fucked up shit, to not just say it's not your business. And that's why I notice in these videos, I also understand that, there's situations where now, like, every little thing, it's like you walk this world and people are just looking for things to sue people off, like, technicality bullshit. Like, when you see these stories of someone drank a really hot coffee from McDonald's and got millions of dollars in a lawsuit. It's like, you got a hot coffee. It doesn't need a caution hot for you to realize it should be hot. And that's kind of the shit. And even just going around, like, everyone calls everything assault. Everyone calls, you assaulted me. It's like, I swear to God, like, if some person were to shove a phone in my face recording and shit and keep it, I would just I would just grab that shit out of their fucking hand. Because here's the thing about now what phones and recording does when you notice in these videos. And sometimes, like, I get why you're recording. I'm not saying you're in the wrong for recording this situation for documentation. But, like, if you keep fucking shoving and waving your phone in my face, I'm just going to grab that shit. I'm not going to break it, but I'm just going to grab it out of your hand and make you realize that without that phone, you can't do shit. And you ain't shit. And all of a sudden you see when you grab someone's phone out of their hand, how then their hypersensitivity, their high emotional, whether it's a guy or a girl, their bitchiness fucking just seeps out. Don't touch my phone. Even though their phone was only 2 inches from your face. If you just stick a phone in my fucking face, you should be lucky if I just grab it and don't smack it. People play this victim. The thing is, you notice these people, like, provoke and instigate. And then when people finally respond to what they're doing and saying, then they play this whole victim card. And then they say, see, I'm going to get you on assault. I'm going to get you on assault. It's like, bitch, if I assault you, I'm going to get it in. Like, I'm not just going to get, like, half a slap up your ass. Like, nah. Obviously, I'm talking about a guy here. Because I would never slap a woman. Even though I would slap a fucking phone out of a woman's hand if she was sitting there trying to, like, secretly record me doing whatever. And especially when she has no business doing that shit. And she's trying to start shit. And she's trying to, like, just make some bullshit. Kind of like the woman who tried to get the guys from Home Depot fired, and then in her apology, that wasn't really an apology, she basically just said, I'm sorry that people were triggered. It's like, get your fucking phone out of me, because people have such as gravitas when the phone's recording, because they feel they're protected. And it's funny how in these situations in court and shit like that, what gets ignored is the instigation and provoking, the poking the bear. All the stuff that they're saying and all this shit, all that gets ignored just based off a simple reaction if you just slap the fuck out of them. This is why I couldn't be a judge. Because, you know, I would look at these situations and I'll be like, you know what? You're annoying as fuck. And I understand that's not how the court of law is supposed to work. Because just because you're annoying doesn't mean you should get slapped the fuck up. But in certain situations, when you watch some of these videos, some of these people should get slapped the fuck up. Like, there's just so, like, what goes through your mind where you're going to shove a fucking phone in my face and then provoke me? Say, I ain't going to do shit. Follow me. Tell me I ain't shit. Tell me I'm a pussy. Tell me I'm a bitch. And then I smack the phone out of your hand and all of a sudden you don't know what to do with yourself. Then you're like, oh, I'm gonna sue you for $80,000 fucking dollars. Like, your phone is barely $1,200 and it's got 18 cracks on the screen because you're too busy putting phones in people's faces and then they smack it out of your hand. Like, fix your fucking phone. All right. But what you notice is people just leave the house wanting to start shit. Because you know what? I admit, I've had days where I just leave the house and I just want someone to try me. I do. Like, I just want some guy to be on some slick shit, say some shit under his breath. I just want some guy with a fucking attitude, like, at a place, and just try me for whatever the fucking reason is. And I wish he would do it in front of his bitch too. I wish he would. Because I feel like the biggest thing is guys need to get their ass beat in front of their girl. So you could fuck the girl in the ass after. No. Well, I mean, you know, whatever works, right? Let me get some of this water. But yeah, look, I'm human. I think most humans, we all have some built up aggression in us. But I'm not someone like, I don't want to go out there starting problems with people. Like, I don't want that. I'm a very positive guy. But sometimes, man, you're like, if you come across that person today, whether it's a road rage incident or if it's in a place, some guy's being a smart ass, or like, if I were to see some dude be a complete asshole to someone who's working, who's in a vulnerable position, like, I have no problem speaking up. I've done it before. I did it this past month. This guy was being an asshole to some girl at a Dunkin'. And I was just like, and I just said while I was behind him, because one, I was in a hurry to work. So I was kind of like antsy. But I legitimately told, like, he was being a pain in the ass saying, oh, well, last time I could get this and this. It's like, well, and I just said, because I was behind this dude for 3 minutes, I was like, well, guess what? You can't. So get your fucking shit. And I said exactly like that. He was like, oh, if I wanted a young Gen Z's fucking opinion, I would go on Instagram. I was like, Jesus. Well, I'm not on Instagram. So, it just goes to show. But, I don't get how, and we live in this virtuous place, but then when you see actual actions and situations that come up, you see people who I don't even like to use the term virtue signal, because I don't think having aspirations for wanting better or having beliefs in certain things, if you actually believe them, is a bad thing. But what you do see is people that want to look like they give a shit and that they would do something, but then when smaller situations happen in life, they don't even act on those. Like, don't sit here and say you care about, you know, workers being protected. Don't say you care about certain movements or certain type of things that are going on in the world, but then when you don't even take advantage to take action when it happens in real time, or you don't even apply it to your life. Don't say you give a fuck about being anti-racist, but you don't even voluntarily hang out with anyone really outside of your comfort zone. Don't say that you care about, minimum wage workers' wages. But then, Jesus fucking Christ, these ass wipes. No, I didn't forget some Team Hubhopper. Forget some? Publish a podcast. I publish a shitload of episodes, just not for you dumb fucks. But yeah, no, don't say you give a fuck about shit, about a specific thing, but you don't say you give a fuck about protecting a woman, but then when you see a woman get verbally, chastised, or you see a woman who's in obvious discomfort, or you see a woman in a workplace, like a guy being an asshole to her, like behind the counter, talking to them a certain way. Don't say you care about employees and shit, but then when you go there and see situations happen, you just sit there and pull out a camera. You just sit there in silence and just watch. And don't say shit. And don't call the person out and hold people accountable for their bullshit. That's the shit that bothers the fuck out of me. Is when you see people that say they give a fuck about shit, like this great bigger picture of shit, but then in real life smaller situations where how they actually think and really apply, they're too pussy to do shit about it. And I don't like calling people pussies about shit, but when you want to sit out here and say you're this and that for this and all this care just to make yourself look, and I have questions about whether you actually truly give a fuck about those shit, and then I actually see it in real time, yeah, fuck off. I know you don't give a fuck about that shit. I also see kind of the undertone you speak to people in a certain way. I don't know, man. It's just wild to me. These public freakout, the Karen compilations, it's mostly for entertainment, but then you also realize that, oh, this is real. This is real. This is real people that are just losing their shit with normal jobs. You see nurses and these fucking nurses at fucking fast food places losing their shit. This isn't just some crack addict or some person who is in poverty and you see those things, but these are normal middle class people too. This isn't just some high income yuppie who's entitled to shit. You'll find though, but it'll be normal people you would think would resonate with certain things, but you see how they truly view people when they are angry and when shit isn't going well. You see how people deal with shit. Here's the thing, I understand bad days, but I do feel when some these things happen, that's not I believe anyone's capable of anything. We're all capable of having shitty moments in public, out and about, and all that stuff, right? I get that. But I think even in my worst moments, I would not embarrass myself the way these people do. I could see myself yelling at someone if they were just being complete assholes about shit. I would have no problem doing that. But the way these people conduct themselves and deal with it's immediate. I left the house, and you want to know the biggest thing is in all these things, all these people stress about respect. And it's all about, it's about respect. It's about this. No, it's fucking not. There's nothing about any of this is respect. It's always funny to me when people shit on people at these lower income jobs, at these lower base places. But if you consume at these places, since they always want to talk about I'm a customer, and since I'm a customer, I deserve to be treated X, Y, and Z. It's you're a public servant. I watched this one video. You're a public servant. It's actually no, they're literally an employee of a place, of a company. That's not a public servant. A public servant is a government official, a cop. Technically, that's a public servant, a security guard, or a social worker. That's a public servant because their job is to literally help and take care of things. These are private companies that don't have to, like, they could literally refuse your service. There's actually not a law that says a company can't refuse your service. That's the thing that people made up. They can actually, they're better off having no reason to refuse you. It's a company can't refuse you based off your race, your gender, sexuality, blah, blah, blah. Like, technically, that can't happen, but a company can just refuse you if they just like, I just don't like you. Your personality sucks. That's actually, honestly, they could get away with that more than the other shit. It's just, and that's kind of the scary thing about falling into these rabbit holes is when you're watching these videos of rabbit holes and you're watching back to back for, essentially an hour or two at a time. Like, you really start to get a sense of, is this more of the actual pulse of what's actually happening out here? Am I, when I go out, which is 99.9% most time, most place I go to, nothing weird happens. It's pretty standard stuff. Am I just living in this bubble? Am I just living in my own world? Do I just not go to places where this shit happens? Like, am I a boring guy? Because the mass amount you see, you would think this shit happens everywhere, every day. And in some places it probably does. But you can get very the thing about when you're watching in unison succession is that you realize, like, man, like, there's a lot of troubled people out here. Not to become too, like, real about it, but being a troubled person doesn't justify acting like an asshole. It really doesn't. To me, I actually, my belief about how people treat people when they're in better or worse positions in your life. I think the worse position in life you are, the worse life is going for you, you should be even nicer to people. There should be something in you to actually make you more giving. Because it's almost like if you're in a very detrimental position in your life, like, that's the definition of being humble. And humbleness is supposed to be grace, and grace is supposed to be love, and that's supposed to be something you give back to everyone and each other, right? I've noticed that when I've been at lower moments in my life, whether that's financially and all this stuff, I've actually been much more generous. I think that's why when you see people with like a lot of money and stuff, like, they become less generous. They could kind of gain that asshole-ish kind of vibe to them. And I think when things are a little too, because it's like this constant thing when you don't, the thing about not having to worry about shit is, like, when you don't have to worry about whether your money's good or nothing, and it's just free coming, like, the income's coming in and stuff's going right, like, you don't have to check yourself. You don't have to, it's easier to actually get lost in things because, one, you can afford it. You can afford the puss. Puss in boots. And you can afford all the fucking boots you want. Oh, gee, I remember middle school, those fucking those fur half boots. The Uggs. They were ugly. Jesus. I never got the whole Uggs thing. But yeah, anyways, back to Mrs. Claus. Imagine if Santa Claus was actually a woman. Like, imagine getting that period on Christmas Eve. Like, imagine the shitty present. Imagine just the angstiness, the trail of blood going down your chimney. And then when you turn the fire on, like, your logs. Well, hopefully not that log. You don't want period blood on that log. Log in and please log the fuck out. But imagine just blood dripping on those logs while you're setting it on fire. And now all the fumes and smoke going through the chimney and through the attic and through your house mistily is just Mrs. Claus period blood. While your kids are opening their presents and stockings. Think about that. Just a thought. But anyways, yeah. I waited 25 minutes to come back to the Mrs. Claus period idea just to talk about it for 40 seconds, and now you're just smelling. Oh, Clint. Oh, it's all about being hormonal. Yeah, man. I don't know. I just kind of hope that people. The worst part is that people really don't. I think the thing is, we really want to justify nonsense so much. And I'm not trying to say, here's the thing. I'm not trying to say that there are not times to lose your shit. Because it feels great to sometimes lose your shit. It feels great in the moment. It feels good for a good minute or two after. But then when you really sit back, and as Drake would say, you're the one, and when you live with your regrets, that's how sticky it gets. That shit sticks with you. I stick with you. Oh, that pussycat and the Puss in Boot dolls. I stick with you. Why do I feel like none of the Pussycat Doll? I've actually never heard them sing live. But I have a feeling just based off their songs and music, I would not be surprised if none of them can actually sing. I don't know why. I feel like the Cheetah Girls probably actually sing better than them. And they're supposed to be more for kids and Disney people. No one cares if, the Disney people can actually sing. It's just more about hey, are you charismatic? And can you dance? And can you wave a wand around in case you're wandering? Okay. Disney Channel. Do. And as that Mom House movie is playing, whatever the fuck that is. Cadet Kelly. This may be one of the worst pods I've ever done. Yeah, look, man, when I don't pod that often, I am sluggish as fuck. And it just goes to show I really need to get back on those energy drinks when I do these pods. I'm actually pretty well rested. It's not really the issue. It's just, I just gotta be drinking coffee or some type of energy drink. It kind of just relaxes me instead of trying to drink. Ooh, your boy's getting cut. God damn. Ooh, I'm a hottie with the body. And boy, there are some baddies out here. And sometimes the baddies act in these videos, these public freakout videos. And you're like, what do you do? What's crazy to me? Also, now I think about it, the fact that there are dudes that would let their girl, do this shit. While you're with them. And you're just letting your girl yell and shit. And you're not doing nothing about it. That's wild to me. It is fucking wild to me. You want to embarrass yourself when you're with your girls and your bitches in Atlantic City? Go ahead. But God, if I'm out with you, you are not going to sit there and talk to anyone any type of way. You're just not. I will pick you up and we will leave. I don't understand when the dude just sits there and is just letting their girl just be a complete cunt to people. If it gets, and let's just say your girl can get like that, right? That's when you jump in the situation and say, I got this, hold on. And you sort the situation out. Still show a little bit of frustration, just so she knows that you're not trying to be Mr. in the middle. But yeah, I'm on your side. But it's You gotta show a little bit like, look, my wife's been waiting, whatever, whatever. But, we just want to make sure things are going right. You find a way to ease in to the waiter, please your wife. It's probably one of the few times you actually will. And you make it happen. I get it. But I don't know, people are just a little too comfortable letting people they give a fuck about out here doing anything and not saying shit about it. Like, I can understand, and I think that's why, like, I struggle with kind of, for example, like, I probably struggle with meeting new people. And when you're like, let's say you start seeing a girl or whatever, and then they have friends and stuff, and they want you to meet their friends, and you go out for a taco place, for lunch, and you eat with them and stuff, and shit, I forgot the point I was going to make there. Wow, your boy is so rusty. Oh, no, yeah. But yeah, no, I think, when you're trying to, God, fuck. I'm so mad at myself when this shit fucking happens. I'm so mad because I prepped to fucking do this pod and I just can't get my fucking thoughts together. Well, in my DMs, I do. See what I did there? Because I got a lot of hoes. Not really. Wink, wink. Winky, winky. Oh, Slinky. I like the Slinky off Toy Story. With the dog. Now, Buzz, hurry and Buzz. Come on, Buzz. That's not the voice of Slinky. God. I hope that no one listens to the pod for this episode. I hope they wait a couple episodes to come back to the show. Because, goddamn, this is bad. Your boy is struggling. That's why repetitions matter. But yeah, no, yeah, it sucks. I hate meeting girls' friends. Like when you're seeing someone or you're with someone and you have to start like incorporating and talking to them. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, see, I just had to work it out for a minute. But yeah, like when you go out with a group of your partner's friends, we'll just say that, and you see some deplorable behavior, some annoying behavior, some just it could be slightly entitled. It's just more of you just don't like the way they talk. You don't. That's right. You don't like the way they talk. You just don't like the way they kind of go about things. How they conversate. How they. It sounds like I'm not even talking about the thing. It's just like if you just hate these things about people, just follow along. But if you're with those people and you see them doing these similar things when situations come up and you see them kind of being an asshole, you see them being a cunt to whoever, or you see how they talk behind the waiters' backs and shit like that, or you see they're being extra and difficult just to be extra and difficult because in their eyes that's their job to serve you. I would have no problem. Like, honestly, I would feel more comfortable then saying to people I don't really give a fuck about, to be honest. But I know them enough where we're in this we're in this setting there. I would honestly tell those people, fuck off, in a sense. Like, I would feel more comfortable being a dick to them than some stranger. Because, like, I feel like it's like the invite is there for me. Like, this is my place. Like, I'm one of those people, if I see something wrong right there, I have no problem pointing it out and be like, it's not always like, oh, you're wrong, but you definitely bring their attention that you notice that they're doing some fuck shit. It could be in a joke, it could be in some slight remark, but you can make it known to people that they're wrong about shit. Or they're just being really douchey. And I think some people just kind of... And I think what you would realize in that situation too is these are the people that your girl or guy, it doesn't really matter. These are the people that your person values and has chosen to be in their capacity of life. And they have and this is the type of stuff that they have condoned or they just kind of are okay with. Now, granted, like, you can't have it all in friends. Like, everyone's flawed and shit. It's about accepting people for who they are and whatever. But if you are going to be one of those people that say this stuff matters, but then when you're out with friends and stuff and you don't say or do nothing, like, just don't say you give a fuck about those things. That's all I'm saying. But yeah. This might be one of the shortest episodes I ever do because I don't even know what more I have to say. Oh, Jesus. This is why it's important to stay continuing doing the pod or anything you're doing. Because when you take time off and it starts becoming less of a priority and just more of something you just try to do when you can, you get shit like this. And I'm trying to bring light to it, but as you can tell, I'm actually pretty frustrated. This is one of those epiphany moments that I realized I'd really need to get back on the ball with this pod and shit. Because when you don't do it and it's not in your mind all day and it's not the topics that you want to talk about just don't come out naturally. Like, before, I wouldn't have enough time in an episode to talk about all the shit I was excited to talk about that I would think throughout the day and think thoroughly and talk to you guys about. And now it's just like, I experienced so much life that it's almost like it kind of stunts it in a weird way. As weird as that may sound. Where it's like, I already did, like, I've already abused that aspect of what I enjoy in the past week. It's like, I don't really even have a desire to talk about or explain further, whatever the hell it is. I don't really keep up with the news anymore. Even though, Queen Elizabeth died. It's funny how people all of a sudden give a fuck about that. Because I doubt at her ripe age of 96? I don't think she was exactly setting the most... I don't even think she was in a mindset to create, like, policies. Whatever the fuck these... They're really just... I look at these, like, royal family stuff. They're literally just more of, like, a... pundit. They're literally just more of a... Trying to think of a way to put it. I know the term I want to use, but I would say the royal family and stuff, they're more of just they're more of just the person that takes the bullets. Well, not JFK style. Well, Princess Diane, yeah. Ooh, that got a little too dark. She was a pretty gal, though. I ain't even gonna front to you. But they are more of for the visual aspect to take the brunt of cheer and stuff, while other people actually do the dirty work. If that makes sense. Like, they don't actually do anything. I hate to break it to you. Like, they don't do shit. Yeah, I don't want to shit on a lady that just died or nothing, but I don't know, like, I don't know why people are throwing this big old memorial and like crying themselves to sleep like 96-year-old ladies aren't supposed to die. I understand we live in this world where everyone can live so fucking long. It's weird how we live in the... We're talking about we're the most unhealthiest we're the most unhealthiest people ever been on this earth, and yet somehow we have some of the healthiest... We have the most longest living people ever. It's crazy how that is. But yeah. And also, she was in the role for 70 years, which means she started being the queen when she was 26 years old. You know how old I am? 26. Just goes to show the difference in what we were doing with our lives. So yeah, on that note, who made you the king of anything? I wasn't born into the royal family. Yeah, that was episode 168, the worst episode in Off and Beat podcast history. I will go ahead and renounce that now. And you're probably like, well, then why the fuck would you post the episode? It's like, because I have to stay by my belief system somehow. Even when you do shitty episodes, you put them out. You never don't put out an episode. Because you know what? You took the time to do it, put it out. But hey, at least I saved you a lot more bearing. This one's only going to be like 47, 48 minutes. So you're welcome for that. But yeah, that was episode 168. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell on all apps. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, as I forgot to mention at the beginning, don't forget to suck some titties. And it's crazy how the healthier I am, the shittier the pods get. So I really need to get back out of shape. You know what I'm saying? And for the video audience, ooh, look at these buys. And I'm talking about my arms, not, Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to see both sides. See what I did there? Flip that on your cakes, your urinal cake. Because I'll, put a little urine on your cake. More like pineapple upside down. All right. Well, at least you know it'll be sweet. Oh, Jesus. You know what? I'll even do you guys a favor. I'm going to listen to this episode in its entirety after it's posting stuff for my own pain. Because I typically don't listen to my own episode, but I'm going to do it to this just to remind myself of how much I have fallen off. I feel like a MLB hitter who hit like 380 batting average, hit 55 home runs and 180 RBIs. And then next season, for some reason, he's hitting like 220, striking out, leads the league in strikeouts, has struck out 100 times in like 38 games. And he just lost it. No explanation. He just lost it. So yeah. All right, guys. Have a great day. That was depressing.